Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Retribution Paladin Basic Class Guide. My name is Tuskeh, and in this video we will be discussing the Retribution Paladin's Essentials, covering everything you need to know to begin playing the specialization and excelling at it. We'll start with what the Retribution Paladin is, how it plays, and quickly discuss its gearing, talents, and its rotation. Just note that this guide is designed for PvE, not for PvP. You can use the links at the top of the video to jump between the various sections of this guide at will. Now, let's get started. The Retribution Paladin is the close quarters melee fighter of the Paladin's specializations. Clad in plate armor and wielding a two-handed weapon, the Retribution Paladin brings a heavy amount of damage to any situation, be it fighting single enemies or smiting multiple foes with the fury of the light. As a Retribution Paladin, you can provide either mastery or stats to your group or raid using either Blessing of Might or Blessing of Kings, respectively. You have a suite of utility abilities in the form of your hand spells that allow you to aid your allies, and a variety of damaging spells for your foes. Generating and spending a 5-point resource called Holy Power, you will be using Holy Power generators to build up your Holy Power, and then hitting enemies extremely hard with your Holy Power spenders. So what spells will you be using as a Retribution Paladin? Well, your main spells are split between Holy Power Generators and Holy Power Spenders. Your Holy Power Generators are Crusader Strike, which is a single target melee attack that generates 1 Holy Power. Hammer of the Righteous, which is a multiple target melee attack that generates 1 Holy Power and shares a cooldown with Crusader Strike. Judgment, which is a single target ranged attack that generates 1 Holy Power. And Exorcism, which is another single target ranged attack that generates 1 Holy Power. Your auto attacks have a chance to reset Exorcism's cooldown. Finally, you have Hammer of Wrath, which is a single target ranged attack that deals heavy damage, but can only be used on enemies below 20% health or when you have Avenging Wrath, one of your cooldowns, available. Hammer of Wrath also generates 1 Holy Power. You have 2 main ways to spend your Holy Power. A single target spell called Templar's Verdict, which consumes 3 Holy Power to deal heavy damage to a single target, and Divine Storm, which consumes 3 Holy Power to deal damage to all nearby enemies. You only have 1 cooldown for damage dealing, Avenging Wrath, which increases all damage you deal by 20% for 20 seconds, and allows you to use Hammer of the Wrath during that time, regardless of your foe's health. You also have a passive, Empowered Divine Storm, that causes your Holy Power spenders to have a chance to make your next Divine Storm free and deal 50% more damage. Keep an eye out for it because it's important. Before we move on, a quick mention of seals. These are passive effects on you that increase your capabilities. You can only have 1 active at a time. You'll be using either Seal of Truth, which deals damage over time to an enemy whenever you auto-attack them, or Seal of Righteousness, which deals damage to all nearby enemies whenever you auto-attack. These are not all of the Retribution Paladin's spells, but they are the most important ones, and they're the ones you'll be using the most. Now, let's move on. Now, let's discuss gearing your Retribution Paladin. As a Ret Paladin, you will be using plate armor. Don't use any other kind, even if the stats on them are better. You gain a 5% strength bonus if you wear all plate armor, and this is better for you than a slightly better piece of mail or leather. Additionally, all pieces of gear that actually show up on your character, so helmets, shoulder pad, chest, braces, gloves, belt, leggings, and boots, will change their stats depending on your class and specialization. So, as a Retribution Paladin, plate will give you strength, which is what you want. Don't worry about the grayed out intellect bonus you see on some of your plate gear, you're still gearing correctly. All other pieces of gear do not change stats, and as such, you'll need to know what you're after. Your primary stat is strength, and you'll get this through almost all of your pieces of gear. Look for it as much as you can. Your secondary stats are also very important, and are listed here in order of their strength. Your most important secondary stat is Mastery. This causes Crusader Strike, Hammer of the Righteous, Hammer of Wrath, Templar's Verdict, Divine Storm, and their multi-strikes to deal extra damage as holy damage. Next up is Haste, which increases your attack speed and, thanks to a passive ability you have, reduces the cooldown and the global cooldown of your Holy Power Generators and Spenders. This makes you do your rotation faster, which means more damage. Next is Critical Strike. This increases your chance to critically hit with all of your spells, which will increase your damage. This is of equal value to Multi-Strike, which causes your abilities to have a chance to hit a second and a third time, doing 30% of the initial damage. Versatility is last, and it increases all damage and healing you do, and decreases all damage you take. This is your weakest stat. Just note, all of these stats are okay, it's just that Mastery happens to be the best for you. so you'll want to prioritize pieces of strength gear with mastery on them. The other stats aren't bad, they're just not as good as mastery is. Always go for strength, and try to prioritize mastery over any of your other secondary stats. There are other things to think about when it comes to stats, and we'll cover those in the advanced guide, but to start off with, get as much mastery as you can, and you'll be doing very well. Moving on. Gems are now a rare bonus to gear rather than a guaranteed thing, and you'll only ever be using one kind of gem, the Greater Mastery Talidite. If you have non-raid pieces of gear with gems in them, feel free to use the Mastery Talidite, which is cheaper but weaker. For enchants, you can only enchant your neck, back, rings, and your weapon, so make sure you do this. Enchants are very important. Your neck, cloak, and both of your rings should be enchanted with Gift of Mastery. Make sure you get a Gift of Mastery on your epic ring as soon as you can. It will eventually be upgraded into a legendary ring, and it's just really strong. Do the legendary questline as soon as you can. Your weapon should be enchanted with Mark of Bleeding Hollow, which also increases your mastery. Note that you can enchant non-raid pieces of gear with Breath of Mastery rather than Gift of Mastery, which is less effective, but much cheaper if you want to get them from the auction house. Your tier bonuses are as such. At 2 pieces, spending Holy Power has a 20% chance for you to allow you to use Hammer of Wrath regardless of your enemy's health. Your 4-set bonus causes your Hammer of Wrath to cause your next Exorcism to generate 3 Holy Power. Both of these are very strong, and you'll want to get these bonuses as quickly as you can. Your talents and glyphs are important means with which to increase your effectiveness, and my suggestions are just that, suggestions. Experiment to see what works best with you. I won't be covering every talent and glyph here, I'll just be discussing my choices. Tier 1, Speed of Light. This temporarily increases your movement speed, making it great for moving around very quickly in between enemies or to avoid bad stuff on the ground. If you don't want an extra button, then take Long Arm of the Law instead. Tier 2, Fist of Justice, which is an improved version of Hammer of Justice with a shorter cooldown and a 20-yard range. It's great for stunning adds. Tier 3, Sacred Shield, which is a 30-second long buff that periodically grants you an Absorb Shield. Since your rotation has a couple of moments of downtime in it, this fits in nicely and makes you more survivable. Tier 4, Unbreakable Spirit, which reduces the cooldown of your Divine Shield, Divine Protection, and Lay on Hands by 50%. This makes you much more survivable, it's just good so you don't die. Tier 5, Divine Purpose, which grants your Holy Power spenders a chance to make your next Holy Power spender free and cast at full strength. This isn't very strong at early gear levels, but as you start gearing up and acquiring tier gear, it meshes so well with your tier bonuses that you'll be using it at that point anyway. Tier 6, Execution Sentence, which is the best choice for single target damage. If you're doing lots of AoE, use Light's Hammer instead. Both of them deal damage and healing, they're just good. Tier 7, Final Verdict, which replaces Templar's Verdict, deals more damage, and gives you a buff that increases the damage and radius of your next Divine Storm. This is a fantastic all-around talent that is very powerful in the majority of situations. The other talents can be discussed, and we probably will discuss them in the advanced guide, but in general I suggest Final Verdict. There are no mandatory glyphs, but here are some of my suggestions. Glyph of Double Jeopardy, which increases the damage of your next judgment if used on a different target, which is good when you're cleaving. Glyph of Judgment, which increases Judgment's range. It's also exclusive with Glyph of Double Jeopardy. Glyph of Exorcism, which makes it a melee range spell, but also makes it deal AoE damage, which is good in multiple target fights. Glyph of Templar's Verdict, which reduces the damage you take by 10% for 6 seconds after using Templar's Verdict or Exorcism, which is just nice for surviving. And finally, Glyph of Hand of Sacrifice, which makes the hand reduce damage rather than transfer it. You may be asked to do this in more advanced situations where the tank is taking a lot of damage and you can help them. Let's finish with your basic rotation. It is a priority system that changes depending on how many enemies you're facing, but always revolves around generating and spending Holy Power. This guide assumes that you are using the talent Final Verdict, as I suggested earlier. For single target, you are going to want to use Seal of Truth. Generate Holy Power with the following spells in order of their strength. Hammer of Wrath, if you can use it, Crusader Strike, Judgment, Exorcism. When you have 3 Holy Power, use Final Verdict. If your passive, Empowered Divine Storm, ever procs, then use Divine Storm. In practice, your priority system is as such. Divine Storm if you have the Final Verdict and Empowered Divine Storm buffs active. Final Verdict if you have 5 Holy Power to avoid losing any as you generate it. Use Execution Sentence whenever it's available. Use Hammer of Wrath on cooldown if it's available. Use Crusader Strike, Judgment, and Exorcism on cooldown in that order. Finally, use Final Verdict if you have 3 Holy Power and none of your procs have appeared. Remember, you have 5 holy power slots available, and all of your spells that spend holy power only cost 3. As such, when you get to 3 holy power, you do not have to immediately spend it. Make sure you remain calm and that you use your spells in a smart manner. If you can generate more holy power before having to spend it, do so. If you have nothing else to do, spend your holy power. When it comes to your multiple target rotation, use Seal of Righteousness if the enemies are going to last for about 30 seconds or more. Generally, it's a good idea to use Seal of Righteousness on trash enemies and Seal of Truth on bosses. Your multiple target rotation is the same as your single target rotation. However, you'll want to replace Crusader Strike with Hammer of the Righteous, and consider using Light's Hammer instead of Execution Sentence. Divine Storm becomes a bit better as well. You want to basically use it as much as you can. If Divine Storm is buffed with Final Verdict and Empowered Divine Storm, then use it. If it's only buffed by Final Verdict, use it anyway. Finally, Avenging Wrath, your big cooldown. Use this basically as much as you can. Use it at the start of a fight, at the end of a fight, whenever you can, and try to time it with Bloodlust or Heroism to make the most out of it. Remember that it allows you to cast Hammer of Wrath regardless of your enemy's health, and since Hammer of Wrath hits so damn hard, you'll want to use it on cooldown as long as you're below 5 holy power. Your procs are very important as a Retribution Paladin. Make sure you keep an eye on them. But also remember that they last a long time, and you do not have to spend them right away. Divine Purpose and Empowered Divine Storm both proc from Holy Power spenders, so you can safely generate Holy Power without fear of overwriting them. Make sure you try to stay calm, and that you don't go crazy as soon as you see a proc appear. Practice is really great with this. Before we end this video, let me quickly mention an add-on that will help you if you're struggling. This is called CLC Ret. You can find a link to this in the description. It basically lets you know what spell to use next. It isn't perfect, but using it as a guideline rather than a complete guide will help you, especially if you're new to the class. Regardless of whether or not you use this add-on, just practice as much as you can, and you'll be destroying your foes with the power of the light in no time. Next time we discuss the Retribution Paladin, we'll be going into a bit more detail about basically everything. This guide will get you started, but if you want to really master it, make sure you watch that guide as soon as it's available. A link will be available on screen now. That's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it and you found it helpful. If you have any questions, thoughts, comments, or feedback, you can contact me using the links in the description, or you can just leave a comment. Make sure you ask your questions so that discussions can start about the Ret Paladin. As always, I offer my heartfelt thanks to my patrons for allowing videos like this to exist, with thanks today going out to Daniel. Thank you very much, my friend. If you want to help contribute to the channel, you can find a link in the description, and you can use the links on screen now to view more of my class guides, and any other guides that I feel may be pertinent. Thank you very much for watching, and I wish you the best of luck as the righteous, holy Avenger.